I think the biggest problem with meditation is the word meditation. Meditation is really kind of just experimenting with different thoughts. I guess it could be considered brain exercises, but it doesn't have to be laborsome necessarily. So I don't like adding the word exercise. For the longest time, just hearing the word meditation made me roll my eyes. It wasn't for me, I thought. Turns out I was doing many things that could be considered meditation, and I didn't even realize it. Eventually, there became too much research on meditation to ignore, so I thought I'd give it a try. And it seemed to me, at first, to be just an exercise in paying attention. Because all of the practitioners of exercise seem to just promote going back to the breath, focusing on the breath. And if your mind wanders, bring it back to the breath. Bring it back to the breath. If your mind wanders, bring it back to the breath. Well, it turns out that's not exactly meditation either. A lot of people think that meditation is just getting yourself to a place of calm and having the ability to bring yourself back to zero on demand. And that also isn't meditation, as it turns out. So, like I said, I thought meditation wasn't for me for the longest time, but I was doing things that actually are forms of meditation. For example, sometimes I would sit and inflect for long stretches of time. I might sit down for 30 minutes and think about mistakes I've made and what I can do to improve on those realizations. And as it turns out, that's a form of meditation. Another thing I would do is sometimes I would contemplate my mortality. I'd sit and think about being dead, quite frankly. And I'd contemplate, what my body would look like in various forms of decomposition, just to sort of bring myself back to reality and realizing how finite life is and how I should appreciate it. Well, as it turns out, that's also a form of meditation that's practiced. It's called Maranasati or something like that. I probably butchered the pronunciation. But there's another form of meditation that involves thinking about what life would be like without someone you love. And afterwards you come back with some more appreciation for them and for life in general maybe. But anyways, these are forms of meditation as it turns out. But another benefit from meditation or whatever you want to call it is these thought experiments or whatever, is recognizing that there's a difference between what you think and your psychological state. There's a difference between what you're experiencing and how you feel about it. In fact, you don't have to feel about it. You don't have to about it at all. There's a difference between what you experience and how you feel. The two don't actually have to connect. You just decide to connect them. You can also decide not to connect them. Our psychological well-being is a choice. Your mood isn't just a victim to your surroundings. It's been said that no one offends you unless you let them. And, well, your psychological well-being is a choice. It's difficult to understand that, especially if you haven't had any practice with meditation, ironically enough, because it's true that what happens to you is not always your choice, but your feelings are indeed yours and they belong to you. And how meditation makes its way into changing your life is in many ways, but here's just one, and that is desires. That's one example. Meditation can be a practice in not being a slave to your desires, rather making desires your slave. And again, the separation of your feelings and your experience. Anyways, all that just to say, give it a try. If nothing else, just sit down and think a little more. Practice with inflection. You can even do this while driving. Safely, you can do this while driving. For example, you don't have to connect your feelings to what's going on the road to the extent you think that you do. So, an example is other drivers, what they do, you don't have to take it personal. Like when people cut in front of you, they're probably just not paying attention. You haven't been wronged in any way, and you don't have anything to prove. There's no point that you need to make, especially if the other driver realizes, oops, I just cut that person off. There's literally no sense in being upset. As always, thank you for listening, and thank you for improving your life and the lives of people around you.